Good morning, family. This is Ricky, and welcome to Hope for Today. Happy 20th of June. It's Tuesday, and all this week at Hope for Today, we're talking about the importance of a plan. There are some things that God calls you to in the moment. There's some things that He stirs your heart up that day, that week, that month. Everything else, friends, I'm just here to tell you, God says you need to have a plan. You got to have a plan for marriage. You got to have a plan for parenting. You got to have a plan for finances. You got to have a plan for ministry. I got a plan. You got a plan. All of God's people got a plan. Anyways, you got a plan. So that's what we're talking about all this week, because you are awesome. You are great. And God's got something great for you in your life. Yesterday was the simple point. You got to have a plan, and we're going to stick with that metaphor. You got to have a plan, number one. Number two, you got to have a mentor. You gotta have a mentor. You need someone who's been there and done that and got the t-shirt. I've always said this about discipleship. Every person needs to have a Timothy behind them, a Barnabas beside them, but a Paul ahead of them. And as we talk about what it means to have a mentor, that's my question. Who is your Paul? Who's done what God's called you to do that you can submit yourself to and ask for guidance? People will very seldom give you money, but they will very freely give you advice. Can I get a witness right there? People will very seldom give you money, but they will very freely give you advice. Proverbs chapter 27. Verse 17 says, iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. We've heard this verse 1,000 times, but at the end of the day, you'll never be as sharp and as agile and as effective a weapon for God's kingdom if you haven't allowed another iron, another voice, another experience to come alongside yours and sharpen what you do for the Lord. Shaquille O'Neal is obviously a Hall of Fame basketball player. But as he looks forward to the second half of his life, it is quite plausible that Shaquille O'Neal is going to be a far more successful businessman than he was even a basketball player. In fact, I think they say that Shaq is already worth close to $500 million. He owns dozens of businesses, has a wonderful portfolio. And you just think that Shaq is just, this guy that's free nilly willing it, right? Like he's just, we just had to go out and execute and that was my Shaq impersonation that went south. But anyways, Shaq tells this famous story about him going to a conference and listening to Jeff Bezos say, I never invested in something that I truly didn't believe in and truly didn't believe wouldn't have an impact on people's lives. And Shaq says, I took that advice and I've applied it to everything. Fast forward 10 years later, Shaq owns Forever 21. Shaq owns most of Reebok. Shaq owns the rights to Marilyn Monroe's face in person, in images. Shaq owns a bunch of Papa John's. Shaq owns a chicken restaurant. Shaq hooked me up. Shaq owns all these things, all because he paused and assumed that just because I'm a great basketball player, doesn't mean I'll be a great businessman. I need to let iron sharpen my iron. Who's your Paul? Who's your mentor? Because that's what it means to have a great plan, to have someone who has executed a plan to speak to your plan. That's all for today, y'all. I'll see you next time.